In today's lesson, we're going to take a look at a chemistry concept of conversions. Now in chemistry, we're oftentimes asked to convert from one unit to another. And one of the most important things to keep in mind when we're doing conversions is that we have to know two things. First of all, we have to know what the conversion factor is, or essentially how many of one unit is equivalent to a certain number of a different unit. Some examples that you might be familiar with are inches and feet. There are 12 inches in 1 foot, or even feet and yards. There are 3 feet in 1 yard. So when we convert, we have to know what that conversion factor is. The other thing that we have to make sure that we're careful about is we have to keep track of what units we're being asked for and what units we're being given. So let's take a look at this sample problem. How many atoms? So right away we know that we're being asked for the number of atoms. That's the unit we're being asked for. And we're given how many atoms are in 36 grams of carbon. So we're converting, in this case, grams to atoms. Now whenever you go to make a conversion, a good way to set it up is to always start with whatever you're given. In this case, we're given 36 grams of carbon. So I'm just going to go ahead and write that down here. 36 grams of carbon. Now for our conversion, we need to end up with atoms at the end of our conversion. So we're going to have to cancel out those grams and convert grams into another unit. In this case, for grams to atoms, we have to convert using something called Avogadro's number. Now this might be something that you heard about in class. It's a really large number. What is Avogadro's number? So if you said 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd, you're correct. And I'm going to go ahead and just put that in a box in the corner of our page because that's a very important number. Let's talk about what that number means. So Avogadro's number tells us the number of atoms that are in what we call 1 mole of a substance. And a mole is just a shorthand way of referring to this many atoms. Similarly to, in numbers, a googol represents 1 followed by 100 zeros. Well, rather than having to write out 1 followed by 100 zeros, it's easier to just use the term googol to refer to that large of a number. In this case, we're doing the same thing with moles. 1 mole represents this many atoms. So first we have to convert to moles, and then from moles we can convert into atoms. And here's where your periodic table is going to come in handy. So if you look on your periodic table, in each box for any given element, at the bottom of the box you see a number, and that number represents the atomic weight of that element, or another way of phrasing that is the molar mass of that element, which means for carbon, if you look, you see that it's 12. And that means that there are 12 grams of carbon. That would be the molar mass. It's the mass of carbon that would exist in 1 mole. So our conversion there is 12 grams of carbon represents 1 mole of carbon. And now that we have moles as our units that we're left with once we cancel out our grams, now we can convert from moles into atoms using Avogadro's number. So here 1 mole of carbon, and this is true of any element, 1 mole represents 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd atoms. So to calculate our answer here, we could multiply 36 times 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd atoms, or we could divide 36 by 12 first to make our calculation a little bit easier. And that's what I'm going to go ahead and do here to reduce. So 12 goes into 36 3 times. 3 times 6.022 comes out to be 18.066 times 10 to the 23rd. And from here, to convert back to proper scientific notation, we always want the number in front, which is called the mantissa. We want that number to be somewhere between 1 and 10. So in this case, it's 18 is too large. We need to move our decimal point over 1 space to the left. And when you move your decimal to the left for scientific notation, that means that you're going to be adding 1 to your exponent. So 18.066 times 10 to the 23rd will give us what number as our final answer? If you said 1.8066 times 10 to the 24th, you're correct. In the units that we have here, which is what our question was asking us for, this is represented in atoms. So for this question, just to recap, whenever you're doing a conversion, start with what you're given in the question as the first unit that you use in making your conversion, and then from there you go step by step canceling out the appropriate units so that you're left with the units the question is asking you for in that last step, and that will give you your final answer. For more questions, please feel free to visit our website at www.sandersontestprep.com. The link is in the description below. Thanks for watching.